Okay, so this is going up on YouTube. At least I hope it will. And so this is just something I need to do. So let me get started. First of all, I'm going to be talking about Avengers, Age of Ultron, and the Avengers movie. Marvel's The Avengers. So if you haven't seen either one of those, or you just haven't seen one or the other, please do not watch this, because I will be talking about all sorts of things about both movies, including things that could be spoilers, and are spoilers. I'll be mentioning spoilers. So, with that being said, I'll give you just about 10 seconds, 5 seconds to go ahead and get out of this if you haven't. Good, okay. So, now that we've gotten that out of the way, I'm going to compare both movies, because someone recently said that that Age of Ultron was better than the original, and I highly disagree, but I want to present both sides of this argument. So, with that being said, let's begin. First, you have your villains. So let's look at this. We have Loki for the Avengers, and we have Ultron for Age of Ultron. Hence the title. So, Loki, what's fun about him is he's just about chaos. He's not about being evil or destroying the world. I mean, yeah, he wants a throne and he wants to rule the world, but he's... Usually you hear villain schemes of, oh, I'm gonna use this death laser to destroy the world, or just destroying the world in general. So Loki's that oddball that we're looking for, and going over what we know of him from Thor, we know that he is a frost giant, or he is some sort of frost creature, and he has no rightful claim to the throne of Asgard. And one of the lines he says in the Avengers, which would be, I remember living in a shadow, the shadow of your greatness. That he's talking about Thor there. We know he has no rightful claim to the throne of Asgard, but he wants to. But this would be a throne that he could have, and the army is there just so that he can achieve that purpose, to have that throne. Going over to Ultron, he's just evil to be evil, and while that makes for an interesting character normally, then you have to bring in the fact that he's using a robotic army to get through to that purpose, and I feel like maybe there could have been more done with him. Maybe there could have been more done with his robot army. But the point is, the Avengers just wipe out his robot army. And even he doesn't pose that much of a threat to them in the end. Whereas early in the film, they have a lot of trouble fighting him off. So that's the catch, is that Ultron's not a really formidable villain. And he kind of does the cliche plan. I'm going to destroy the world. In this case, yeah, it's with an asteroid that he wastes vibranium on, I might add, because the vibranium could be used to bring back Leviathan, which are the giant worm things from the first one, which pose enough of a challenge when they were regular. I mean, a vibranium one would be awesome to see, just destruction, and very challenging to the Avengers, and it's also a tie-in to the first one, but instead he uses them for jet propulsion machines. I don't know. Plot. Basically the same for both movies. In the Avengers, Loki uses... Loki wants to control the Earth. You know what? Hold up. I've got my phone here. Let's pull out trusty IMDb. So the Avengers, sorry, misspelled, the Avengers, there we go. Okay, so if I hold it up to the camera, it does you no good because the words are backwards, so I'll just read. Earth's mightiest heroes must come together and learn to fight as a team if they are to stop the mischievous Loki and his alien army from enslaving humanity. That sounds really cool, first of all. a team of heroes going together to stop someone from enslaving the Earth. Not destroying it, just enslaving it. And it's the mischievous Loki, just the way that sounds. Let's go to Age of Ultron. Ultron. There we go. And I quote, "When Tony Stark and Bruce Banner try to jumpstart a dormant peacekeeping program called Ultron, things go horribly wrong, and it's up to Earth's mightiest heroes to stop the villainous Ultron from enacting his terrible plans." Okay, that actually sounds really cool in concept, but when it's played out on screen, it looks really cool, actually. It does, and it sounds really cool, and it works together. It does. Until they add in the fact that he wants to make a piece of land float into the air and crash back down to the Earth. So, characters. Let's look at it this way. Characters, okay? We've got the same basic characters, and I'm going to exclude the new ones. So the new ones are Vision, Quicksilver, Scarlet Witch, and so I'm focusing on the Avengers mainly here. Captain America. Comparing the two films, he's a lot stricter in the first one, in the Avengers. So I have to say that that Age of Ultron gets 1 for Captain America, just because he's a little more laid back and he's a little more fun in this one. He's not as strict, and he's not really up in people's faces as much. The Hulk, Bruce Banner. He's not as much the Hulk in the second one, but he's not really the Hulk in the first one either. So, and the fight scene we get to see with the Hulk is awesome in both of them. So I'm gonna call it a tie and not give that one to anyone. Thor. Thor is very powerful in the first one. He's very powerful in the second one. As a character, he's really fun in the first one because he doesn't really understand the way things work on Earth, and he's constantly talking about Asgard and relating things to Asgard, and there are things Asgard has that Earth doesn't, so it's just really funny. So I'm gonna, for example, he talks to Phil Coulson and he says, "We come in here like Bilderschneip. You don't have those here? Well, they are absolutely repulsive." So I'm gonna have to give Thor to the first one. So that's 1 and 1. Keeping in mind the Hulk has been in the center, so it's kind of 1 to 1 to 1. Does that make sense? Anyway, so let's see. Iron Man. Okay. He's really egotistical as a character, Tony Stark, and I feel like he gets that from his father. For those of you who haven't watched Agent Carter, we get to actually see Howard Stark as a character, not really developing, but we get to see him as a character. So, so as a character, the two characters are very similar, dad and son, which they should be, if you ask me. But Tony is very egotistical in the first one, and in general, he's just he wants to take command, whereas Cap has the command. So it's just interesting to see the two between there. Plus, he has the great line, "Genius, billionaire, playboy, philanthropist," in response to Cap asking, "Take away the suit, and what are you?" So, I mean, that was just a great line. I'm going to have to give... In the second one, he's a lot more toned down, and Tony Stark is just out there, and he's I mean, he's straight, but he's very enthusiastic about things that revolve around him, and he wants to make everything about him, and that's great. And but we don't get to see that as much in the second one. He's really toned down, and I think that was a mistake on the writer's part. So I'm going to give Iron Man to the first one. Iron Man / Tony Stark to the first one. So 2 to 1 to 1. 2 to 1 to 1. Sorry, I had to correct that there. But that only leaves 2 others. that leaves Black Widow and Hawkeye. Black Widow is basically the same, except in the second one, she's she does a lot more action. And she's over there riding on a motorcycle and cutting in front of cars, pissing people off. But, I mean, in general, she's good, but... And I gotta give her credit, she is one of the only 2 Avengers left in the end. Almost all the Avengers go their separate ways at the end, but she's one of the 2 that stays, her and Cap, so... I don't know, but in the first one, her opening sequence where she gets introduced is really good. I'm tempted to call this a tie. Can I give either one of them something about Black Widow that just ups it? Maybe I would have to give it to the Avengers. 3-1-1. So at this point, even after I gave Hawkeye to Age of Ultron, the characters would still be outbalanced toward the first one. So as far as characters go, the Avengers wins. So, but I'll still go over Hawkeye. I feel like Hawkeye is a very much take charge kind of guy in the first one, whereas in the second one he's very much quarterback, and by that I mean he's in the plane giving directions, he's in the command center giving directions, and we don't get to see a lot of his actions, so I'm going to have to give it to the first one anyway. So 4-1-1. One's down here because it's just this tiny little thing with 2 sides, and it's just hanging out of it. So, my honest review of the new characters. So, Scarlet Witch, let's start with her. First of all, I gotta give points already to... I'm going to start each of the new characters at 5, and I'm going to subtract and add here. So, we're starting with 5 with Scarlet Witch. 5 is where it starts. Elizabeth Olsen automatically gives them a 6th, just because she's hot as... But, then we have the fact that she kind of is the damsel in distress a lot, so I'm going to have to take one away for that. She doesn't really get any action sequences, so I'll have to take one away for that. But then just for the way she dresses, I mean, I can give one back, I guess. And, I mean, I'm going to have to keep her leveled at a 5, to be honest. Because there's not a lot of redeeming things about her, but there's not a lot of downsides about her. Dialogue, maybe. But if I do dialogue, I think I'd have to bump down another to 4. Because honestly, the dialogue's not that great for her. And she doesn't talk a whole lot in the movie, so. And when she is, she's worrying about her brother. So, honestly, or something that we don't need her worrying about. I mean, it is important, but we don't need a worried character. Someone who's bringing realism to a film where a guy can turn into a giant green rage monster, and also there is a demigod that can use his hammer to strike lightning. So, all in all, I think I'd have to give her about a 4. You know what? I'll be nice. 4.5. Final rating out of 10. Quicksilver. And I'm actually gonna do one more thing here. Quicksilver. He's kind of cocky, and I kind of like that about him because I don't know. I feel like Quicksilver should be kind of cocky. So he's just kind of... He's a really fun character. So 5 goes up to 6. His power is really awesome. We get to see him do a lot of fighting and action with it. 7. He has a humorous scene where at one point he's running along and it shows him in slow motion and it shows Cap's shield go flying across and he just grabs it and flings it out of the way and then he punches Cap. And then, like a minute later in the film, maybe less, but he's over there running and he sees Thor's hammer going by and he's like, "Ooh, I'll affect this." And he grabs it and he goes flying back. So I'm gonna give him 8 for that. Dialogue, gonna be honest, not great, but he does have a catchphrase. Bet you didn't see that coming. So, kind of funny. So, but in terms of dialogue as in a whole, I'm gonna have to bump it down one. And constantly saving his sister. I mean, he does it pretty quickly, so I'll have to give him one for that. And he ends up sacrificing himself for Hawkeye. Of the heroes that he could have sacrificed himself for, I'm not sure Hawkeye was the one we wanted him to, but he still did. So that's one there. I'm gonna leave it at a 9. So considerably higher, but than his sister, but Vision starts at a 5. They took Paul Bettany, who does the voice of Jarvis, and literally put him in a different body. And he talks completely differently. 4. Vision, I don't know what... They never clearly define his powers. 3. Just the fact that... I don't know, he has a witty line at the end. Ultron says something and he says, well, I was born yesterday. So I'll have to give him 1 for that. But then we take into account the fact that he's just... He should have never been born in the first place, because no matter what the characters say in the film, none of them would actually ever want to bring back an AI. It's 3. And I'm going to have to leave it there. So for a combined score out of 30, we have 9, 4.5, and 3. Doing the math, that's 16.5. They got about a 1-to-2 ratio here, so it's not good. Don't like the new characters. Ultron, I mean, I'm not going to go through all the statistics, but as a character, I'd have to give him probably a 8, maybe a 9. I don't know. He's a good character. He is. He's funny. He's kind of witty. Even when he doesn't have a body, he's good. So, and James Spader, hey, he's a great actor. So, back to the sacrificing part. 2 characters get sacrificed, 1 in each film. 1 in the Avengers, 1 in Age of Ultron. Phil Coulson dies in the first one, which is what brings them all together. Even though they're separated to the far reaches of the world, all the Avengers are brought together for that cause. The fact that Phil got killed for this cause. And it brings them together. And when Quicksilver dies, it's a touching... it's touching and it's sacrificial, sure. But as an audience member, he's only been around this film. If they'd killed off one of the Avengers, at least we've known them for 2 films. But here, there's nothing for me. So I'm going to have to say that it's not better in that way. Avengers is better there. And Phil Coulson was just someone who the audience legitimately liked. I'm not sure I can say the same for Quicksilver. He did get the highest rating of the new characters for me, but personally, there's nothing there. Alright, let's see. Fighting sequences. So, in Age of Ultron, the first sequence, the opening sequence, is done with CGI characters, people. And I think that's enough said. Easily, the fighting sequences go to the first one. It's awesome to see a CGI character such as Captain America flip a motorcycle over his head. But that doesn't mean it's realistic. It doesn't mean that it's Captain America taking on humanoid figures on the ground. Like in the first Avengers when they're fighting the Chitauri. So... And in terms of acting, I mean, just the acting in the first one's better. And the interaction between the characters feels real. In the second one, it felt fake. It felt almost stuffed. Like they were trying to fill something that's there. Alright, I can't think of a lot more to compare. Oh, they put together a new team of Avengers at the end. And let me do a count here. There are 6 of them. Captain America, Black Widow, Scarlet Witch, Vision, War Machine, and the Falcon. Out of those, maybe 3 of them I like a lot, maybe not. So tell me what you think in the comment section below. Thank you.